teams have arrived. The fans are breaking out the hand warmers and getting their beer jackets ready. And we are here to get you prepared for MLS Cup 2022. Toronto FC walking off the buses. The Sounders swaggering up, looking for the repeat. A massive game coming up. This is MLS Cup Central. I am Andrew Wiebe, and the 2017 MLS season culminates tonight at frigid, potentially snowy BMO Field. The 22nd champion in MLS history will be crowned. Will it be Toronto FC sealing their legacy with the best season of all time, or the Seattle Sounders repeating for just the fourth time in league history? It all goes down at 4 p.m. Eastern, right after the pregame show. ESPN and Unimas in the United States, TSN and TVA Sports in Canada, and of course, somebody's going to get a confetti shower. Somebody is going to lift the Philip F. Anschutz Trophy. Who will it be? We're going to find out, but we will be here afterwards on the post-game show. Ike, Dax, Doyle, and myself, we will break it all down. We'll get interviews from players and coaches, and we'll see who are the ones that make their legacies? Who will be the champions in 2017? Guys, we're going to have a blast here previewing the game, but it got a little CONCACAF-y in Toronto last night. There were fireworks outside the Seattle Sounders hotel. Wow, we have made it. We made it.
Toronto, Panama, no difference for me.
I love it. I love the gamesmanship by the Toronto natives.
Would you have brought some earplugs? Has this happened to you before? I mean, do people like turn off the fire alarms?
I always take a sound machine on the road. So
Really?
Yeah, always have one. And not because I'm preparing for fireworks or for loud noises. I just like to sleep good.
I just want to know if any laws were broken. Do we know if fireworks are legal?
I don't know. I mean, apparently it was on the street. That is pretty brazen from Toronto FC fans. They're trying to break out any stop they can to win this game. Of course, they lost last year in dramatic fashion in PKs. I am joined by a great cast here at MLS Cup Central. We'll start with you, Dax McCarty. What's with the all black, man? What happened to the Christmas sweater? It's not as festive in here.
I'm a little bummed that some of the higher ups and the producers of this show, I'm not going to name names, Jason Segini.
Wow.
They've stifled my creativity, so I had to go a little bit neutral. I had to just be kind of boring to go along with the Blazers.
Yeah, but look, you're not going to be boring during the show. You're going to bring your expertise, and you've been in Toronto for MLS Cup. Go back to 2010. You were there. Didn't work out for you. Let's just start there.
Thanks for that.
But what was the morning like? What was the day like? How are these guys getting prepared for the big game?
You want to keep it light. Like I said yesterday, it's the captain's job to try to keep guys light, try to make sure that the mood in the locker room is really easygoing. You don't want to put too much pressure on yourself. You know it's a huge game. You know it's the biggest game of the season. But I think for me, the team that can handle their nerves the best, some teams, the nerves get the best of them. Mm-hmm. They crumble. Other teams, they embrace that pressure. I think whichever team can embrace that pressure and play their game that got them there, going to come out successful.
We'll talk about the pressure. There's a lot on Toronto FC. They need to get this one at home. To my right here is a man with a ring. Where's it at, Ike? What, you didn't bring the ring?
I didn't get the memo to bring the ring. I'm looking for good times to wear it, and I realized that I missed an opportunity to wear it today.
You did. This would have been a great opportunity. Ike Opara, Defender of the Year with Sporting Kansas City. You came off the bench in 2013, that big victory against RSL. What's it like for the guys that are not in the 11? You're in the squad. You got to find a way to be ready. How do you do it?
Yeah, I mean, the same thing as Dax said. You have to keep it light day of the game and even leading up to it. But at the same time, you have to prepare like you're a starter. We know how these games go. Anyone can go down, especially a cold weather game like it's going to be in Toronto. Someone could go down with an injury or a tactical sub. So you need to prepare like a starter. And at the same time, I know you're a sub, and it's frustrating because you want to be out there, but at the end of the day, you have to be prepared whenever your team comes on.
And I think we've seen in finals, I mean, sometimes subs make all the difference. Yeah. If a coach that makes the wrong substitution, a coach that makes the right substitution, that could be the difference between a championship.
I hate to do it again. Matt Conji, 2010.
Sorry.
Pandora Ramirez in 2005 as well broke the deadlock for the Galaxy. Matt Doyle, the armchair analyst here, give us your insight. There's so much at stake in big games like this. What do the Sounders have to gain and lose? What do Toronto FC have to gain and lose?
Are you sure you don't want to dunk on Dax again before I get into this?
I'm hanging on the rim right now. I'm hanging on the rim.
I'm ready.
A little tech right there.
I can take it.
With Seattle, obviously, 2 in a row, that puts you in the record books next to teams like DC United and Houston and LA. That speaks for itself. But there's not a lot of pressure on them. Whereas with Toronto FC, there's a lot of pressure on them because they just had the best regular season in league history, and if they don't follow that up with an MLS Cup victory, they're the 2007 Patriots. They're the 2016 Warriors, and LeBron is coming down the court and he's going to pin them against the backboard. Like, this is it for them. They have been playing for the last 2 months to get to this game, and it's 90 minutes at home. They're healthy, no excuses. If they don't win, people will see it as a choke job.
Yeah, it would stick in their craw. No doubt about that. We've heard a lot about that loss over the last week or so. David Goss and Jillian Sakovits have been our eyes and ears on the ground in Toronto. Dave is in the club. Jillian's out on the field. Jillian, you've been with the Sounders what feels like for a month and a half now. I hear you got some good stuff coming for us today.
Lots of stuff, Andrew. I am here at BMO, and it's not just me. Look over my shoulder. There's going to be about 1,600 Seattle Sounders supporters as well. They are filing in. Also filing into BMO, Jordan Morris. I talked to him off the bus. Also got a chance to speak with General Manager Garth Lagerwey. And I'll have a weather report. Will we see the orange ball? How cold is it here in Toronto? All that coming up in a little bit.
Thank you, Jillian. You look warm, Dave. You look extra warm, man. You're hiding out in the club? What's going on?
Well, this is the site of the crime, right, Josie Altsner, Sasha Kleshin, so I figured I'd get here early this time, see if maybe I can get that inside scoop.
Thank you so much. We'll get to Dave and Jillian. Sorry. We'll get to Dave and Jillian later on in the show here. The ball giveaway that's been going on for the past 3 days. We've given out 12. We'll give out 4 more today. MLSsoccer.com/playoffs. Questions, queries, hot takes, what have you. Get them in there. You will be eligible to win the 2 replica winners from Friday. Fabian Gaiacon, Russell Crouch, congratulations to you guys. We will announce the match ball winners, the authentic balls, later in the show. And let's get things started with a fan question. Mason Munson, in the MLS Cup playoffs this season, every game that Toronto FC has played at home, it seemed like they've been easily angered. Do you think that this could play a part in MLS Cup? I don't know about easily angered, but they've definitely had pressure on them, Dax, and I think it's shown.
It has. And anytime you play at home, anytime that you have the regular season that they had, and you go into the game with the expectations that Toronto FC has, they can say all they want that there's not that much pressure on them, that they want to be at home in front of their fans, but they've shown actually in these playoffs that they have had the toughest games. They haven't played their best when they're actually playing at BMO. So I'll be really interested to see how aggressively they come out, try to set the tone, try to play a little bit more confidently than they've looked.
Toronto FC looking for their first ever MLS title. You saw that moment against the Red Bulls. That's what Dave was talking about. The scene of the crime. I do not think they will lose their minds in this game. Dave also caught up with Steven Beitashour as he came off the bus a little while ago.
Steven, this is the moment you guys have waited for 12 months. You guys have worked for this so hard. What are the emotions like on that bus coming in, walking into the stadium?
Yeah, it's great. Obviously seeing our fans already here, ready to go, and it pumps us up. Obviously it's a big game, and we love playing at home, so we're excited for tonight.
How do you channel that and not get too overexcited?
You don't want to get too excited too early. I think that's the main thing. So just trying to relax, told family, friends, just take it easy with the text. If there's any group threads, just try to keep me out of there, and just get ready for the moment.
What was the conversation like this morning at breakfast on the bus ride over between you guys? What's the feel in this group?
The typical, before the game kind of stuff. Nothing out of the ordinary, and I think everyone's just ready to go. Everyone's been waiting for this moment, and we're excited.
Thanks so much, Beta.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Back to you guys.
Steven Beitashour could play a huge role at right back in this game. We'll have to wait and see. Of course, 4 p.m. Eastern is when this bad boy goes down. We have another fan question here. Colin Scott is on the weather, as many of us are after last year's frigid final. He wants to know, do you feel the weather will be less of a factor this year compared to the 2016 MLS Cup? 1 degree Celsius, he says, versus -4 to -8 in 2016. Jillian Sakovits is on the ground, and Jillian, we need you to translate a little bit for us here. -1 Celsius, -4, -8. I'm really not sure.
I could do that. 3 layers, it means about 35 degrees Fahrenheit. Andrew, you were here last year. It was 20 in the low 20s last year. So already, is it chilly? Yes, but it's nothing compared to what it was last year. Also, you could see the pitch behind me. It's in great shape. Last year, there was the Grey Cup, the CFL's championship game here 2 weeks prior to MLS Cup. The field took a beating. It's in great shape. Also, the other idea, this is a warm warmed field. What does that mean? We learned all about it. There are pipes that run all below this field, warming the grass from underneath. That's why it doesn't look like all of our yards. It's nice green grass in the middle of December. Now, we likely won't be seeing the orange ball. The precipitation is 5 to 15%, so while there might be a couple flurries, which we have seen, likely no accumulation. So sorry to break the bad news to all the people who really wanted to see that orange ball. I will say, though, that the topic of the orange ball did bring up my favorite quote of this entire week here in Toronto, and that came at the hands of Brian Schmetzer, who said, don't worry about it. Clint Dempsey, he could score with any orange balls or any kind of balls for that matter. Andrew?
Thank you, Jillian. Clint Dempsey doesn't care. He's just looking for goals. He's looking for a ring. And that gets us to another fan question from Justin Brasser. He says, what would an MLS Cup do for Clint Dempsey's legacy? Dax, Clint lost twice with the Revs. Yes, he has a ring from last year. He was part of that parade. He celebrated with his team. But he wasn't on the field. He wasn't available. Thank God he's back this year after that health issue. He has to desperately want this, though.
And he will. Clint Dempsey is one of the most competitive guys that I've ever shared a locker room with. He's going to be able to hang his hat on the fact that, yes, he was a part of a team that won a championship, but I think for his competitive edge, he's not going to feel like he contributed as much as he wanted to that championship. He's going to watch, his team celebrate after the penalty kicks. He wasn't on the field with them. He's going to want that moment for himself and for his team again coming up today.
Yeah, and listen, I love that about Clint Dempsey. His attitude, that's one of the reasons why he's one of the greatest American players that's ever played. And I'm not a full believer if he doesn't win, or if he doesn't win an MLS Cup this year, that he doesn't have a ring, or he doesn't feel as entitled to have a ring because he was only part of the year, half the year last year. He still has a ring. There are plenty of athletes who retire after great careers and don't have a ring. So I'm not so sold on Clint Dempsey and the idea of
he's going to be calling the game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not about the ring. It's about that time capsule moment. And the other, Landon Donovan has that. I mean, he has 4 of those moments. And of course, Clint and Landon are always going to be linked. Robbie Keane has those moments. Diego Valeri has that moment. I'm sure that Clint wants to have that huge goal in the biggest game in MLS.
So he's a big game player.
Right. So does Josie and Michael. If we're talking U.S. national team, Josie and Michael have been booed mercilessly for the past month and a half, Dax. They got to be 1-2.
Yeah, absolutely. And, whether it's right or wrong, the fact of the matter is that those guys have the motivation to step on the field and make up for what happened last year. I think that those guys, they take it upon themselves as leaders in the locker room and on the field. This is on them. This is on them to lead their team. This is on them to play their best game of the season. And if they do lead, the other guys around them will follow.
I think it would solidify their legacy in MLS on top of what they've done, in other leagues and the national team. But I think we can take the legacy talk with a lot of players on this field. And I guess I've been really loving Chad Marshall recently. But
defenders loving defenders, huh?
Yeah, I guess so, because we get no love. I mean, he won one with the Crew. He won one last year, and if he wins one this year, on top of his individual awards, we're looking at another.
I mean, he's had. To me, he's already made the argument. Chad Marshall has had the best career of any defender in MLS history. All due respect to Eddie Pope and Carlos Bocanegra, it just didn't do it for as long as what Chad Marshall's done it. Let's give a shout out to Dax's good buddy Drew Moore, a guy who has done it for a long time and was integral in, I think, getting this Toronto backline organized, because what defined Toronto for about 8 years was just a sieve of a defense.
Now, we will talk also about the GMs in this game as well. Garth Lagerwey, Tim Bezpachenko, they have built these teams into juggernauts. They are on the brink of a title here. This is the present, but we always like to celebrate the past as well here on MLS Cup Central. And I want to throw it back to 2006. The Houston Dynamo and New England Revolution, a dramatic ending. Taylor Twellman with the goal in this game, but it was Houston, the first of 2. Doyle?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about that time capsule moment. That should have been it for Taylor Twellman. He scores the go-ahead goal in MLS Cup in extra time. And then, of course, Houston runs right back down the other end. And Brian Ching, another all-time great MLS striker, answers right back. And penalties, man.
Penalties, they will kill you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We'll talk about those in just a little bit. I mentioned Garth Lagerwey. Jillian Sakovits sat down with him earlier in the week.
Brian Schmetzer put it pretty well when he said last season this team was playing with house money. This year they're earning their paychecks. The expectations obviously have changed for 2017. What does that say about the big picture for the Sounders?
It means that I think we've had another pretty good season, and under Brian's leadership, we've been consistently successful. From my perspective, we're consistently competing. That's a good thing, and so hopefully we're here and we're able to honestly make a better showing of ourselves in the final than we did last year. And we're not giving our rings back, but we'd love to play some better soccer this time around than we did last time.
Speaking of last year, they say defense wins championships, and the Sounders proved that last year. How were you guys able to maintain the defense that you did for this season?
We have very good center backs and a very good goalkeeper, just as a foundational start. And the guys in front of them, defensive midfielder, whether that's Alonso or Roldan or Svensson, they've all been excellent there. And we've been able to cultivate multiple outside backs. Signed Leardom in the summer. For me, he's one of the best outside backs in the league. And we have not only Jovan Jones, but Nuhutola on the other side. So we spent a lot of time and money on our back line, and I think in our back six, and we're willing to defend as a group, and that all helps.
And this group is looking to build a legacy. What would it mean to repeat for the Sounders?
It's been done a couple times before, so certainly that'd be nice. But I'll say this: it only matters if you win. People only remember if you win, and certainly it's a nice thing to have out there. But this is a great TFC team, and they're better than they were last year. I got a ton of respect for Bill Manning. We worked together 7 years in Salt Lake, and worked there as well with Greg Vanny and Robin Fraser. So great organization, great players. Hopefully a really good game tomorrow.
We're looking forward to it. Garth, thanks for the time. Guys, back to you.
Garth Lagerwey says it only matters if you win. He's got some MLS Cups. Tim Bezpachenko is looking for his first. He arrived in Toronto 4 years ago and took this organization from, let's be honest here, trash to class. David Goss has the backstory on that project.
Yeah, it's a first-class club and everything they do with how they treat the players. And, looking at this point, the past 3 years have been interesting. Each year we've improved. And I think that's the biggest thing to look at. Our first year, we never made the playoffs. We made the playoffs. Okay, we got knocked out in the first round. Second year, we made a run. We made it all the way to the final. This year, we won the Supporters' Shield. We set a record for most points. So each year, the team's improved, and I think that's important in a project like this. So
2014, you start with Jermaine Defoe and Michael Bradley, and it's a whirlwind, man. It's like it's a big change. And when I got traded here, I was scared. And then you see what the club is trying to do here. They're trying to win championships. They're buying DPs. They're changing the stadium. They're putting so much money into the team. It's really been a project, and it starts from the top down. Their ambition is to win trophies.
We all knew what we signed up for. This wasn't going to be a year thing, a 2 year thing. So the fact that we're here now is great. It's fantastic, but there's still so much work to do. And I think everybody understands that. But you live in the moment, and that's what we're doing. We're going to go out there and do everything we can to win. And but we understand that the project doesn't end there, win or lose.
Yeah, look, when you're building a roster, I do believe that you can't just jump from being one of the worst teams in the league. I think someone called us the worst team in the world at one point to the best. And if you do, I actually think that it's probably not something that's sustainable, right? People like to talk about sort of worst to first. I just think that if you look at those teams, they typically will fall back down the following year. I think gradual growth is probably more healthy and is a sign of something that's more sustainable. But the question is, can you get that last championship as we roll into next year with CCL on the horizon?
We have come a long way since the bloody big deal. The big three in Toronto getting it done. They're on the brink of a first ever title for Toronto FC. Of course, we've been giving away match balls over the course of this week on MLS Cup Central. We've got the authentic winners from Friday night. Jerry Neal, Daniel Kuzer. Congratulations, guys. You will be the envy of everybody at Pickup in the coming months. As I said before, Jillian caught up with Jordan Morris as he came off the bus. He will not start in this game, we expect. Lineup's coming soon, but he could be an impact player off the bench.
Jordan, when the bus pulled in here at BMO just a moment ago, describe the emotions.
Yeah, it's amazing to be back. Definitely a little bit of deja vu a year ago. Obviously, we got a good result here, and we're coming back to try and do the same.
All week, this team has seemed confident, loose, a lot of smiles. Today, still feeling the same?
Yeah, definitely. Game face is on today, and guys are ready to go, but I think we're feeling loose and confident. We're going to come out and try and show them what we got and really get after them early. So it'll be a fun game.
Jordan, when you and I sat down, you told me, should my team call on me, I'm ready to provide that spark that they could need. What's your mentality as you wait for that possibility to be called on?
Yeah, same mentality, just trying to be that spark and, hopefully coming in and making an impact. And in games like this, sometimes that's what's needed is someone to come off the bench and give a little spark. So if that's my role, then I'm ready to do that.
Jordan, thanks for the time.
Yeah, thank you.
Guys, back to you.
All right, thank you, Jillian. Good stuff coming out of Toronto. The big game coming at 4 p.m. Eastern, and the fan questions are rolling in, guys. Bruce Englehart says, which game will live on in league lore a few decades from now? Jordan Morris's flu game from last year against the Rapids, perhaps you remember that one, or Josie's limp game from this year? We got to find a new name for Josie's. Yeah. It's not the limp game. It's
game?
like, I don't know. Help us out here at
yeah.
home. Which one stands out to you, Doyle?
The ankle game, I guess.
limp?
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Morris had a great rookie season. He's had some nice moments for the national team as well, but we still don't know what his ultimate stature is in U.S. soccer lore. With Josie, we know. He's already scored 40-plus goals for the U.S. national team. He was the best player in the playoffs last year for Toronto, and he scored the goal that put them through on, as we pointed out, a bad ankle. I think Josie's is the one that we're going to remember. And I also want to bring it back to what Bezbachenko was saying. Teams that go from worst to first tend to fall back down, and that's exactly what the Rapids were last year. Whereas the Crew have been a really good team for 4 or 5 years under Greg Berhalter. That was a good team that Josie got that goal against.
Gradual process. That's what Toronto FC has been. Seattle Sounders, from day one, making the playoffs, one of the best expansion sides of all time. Atlanta fans, Chicago Fire fans, get at me in the comments. Dax McCarty, I want to know about the impact that Jordan Morris could have as a sub. We assume that's where he'll be. Walk me through the game states here. Where could he be useful for Brian Schmetzer?
Well, I think there's a 100% chance that Jordan subs into this game regardless of the result. But like you said, it's game states. Depends on where the game is, who's winning, who's losing. If Seattle's winning the game, that is a perfect opportunity to sub Jordan Morris on with 20, 30 minutes to go. Toronto's going to be pushing the game. They're going to open themselves up more. And that's where Jordan really thrives, in space, in behind backlines. If Seattle's winning, if Seattle's losing, Toronto's going to sit a little deeper. Who knows if there's going to be the spaces to run into for Jordan.
Ike, I want to get your perspective here. As a defender, when you see Jordan Morris coming off the bench, you see that speed coming right down your throat. Yep. What are you thinking?
Yeah, obviously his number one element is his speed and his ability to get in behind. And he's always looking to run. And so he's coming off the bench, and he's fresh, and you might be a little fatigued. You might be driving the game if you're Toronto and being down, and he wants to get in behind. You're taking risks, and that's what he's really good at, exposing, getting spaces in behind your back line that expose you 1v1 for him to go at goal. And that's a very big strength of his.
Seattle's got 2 guys now who could do that, between Morris and Victor Rodriguez, who I think we also expect to come off the bench. So if Brian Schmetzer wants to play around a little bit, he can do that.
Josie Altidore, he will start this game. He had like a 5-word answer to everything at the press conference. 5 words might have been too many.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Yeah, basically Marshawn lynching people at that press conference. But he will start this game. Will he be ready to go? Will he be 100%? We're not sure. We haven't heard a ton about that ankle injury. We know he rehabbed at the beginning of the week. I want to know from you guys, how would you prepare? What's happening in the background? What kind of treatment are you getting? Can you be 100% in that amount of time?
Well, hopefully you're hoping for some miracle treatments that comes out from the last game. But he's been on around-the-clock treatment for sure all week, and they're tinkering with the tape job, I'm sure, all week in training, figuring out what's most comfortable for him, for his ankle, striking the ball, if it's too tight, and all the above, many variables go into that. And so I think it's going to be interesting because it's going to be cold, that ankle might be stiff. He might be lucky with the adrenaline to start off the game, but as it goes on, I'm going to be curious to see how the ankle holds up.
And I'd be very surprised if Josie trained more than 2 or 3 times this week. Very surprised. Sore ankle, twisted ankle, you just have to rest it. You have to rest it. Josie wants to get out there. He's going to be fresh. He's going to be okay. There's no way that if this game is tied or if Toronto is losing, that Josie Altidore comes off the field. Doesn't matter how his ankle's feeling.
You saw him stick on the field until he got the goal the other night.
Well, if he's hurting the team, Vanny might.
Vanny subbed out Jovinko last year. So if Josie is playing as bad this year as Jovinko was last year, Vanny will give him the hook.
Yeah, and rightfully so. You're hurting the other 10 guys on your team.
You need a coach that's going to have the cojones to be able to.
Apparently, Coach Dax doesn't.
Which is weird that we're conceding because we don't want to come off. I'm sure for Josie.
Josie's the guy that if he's hurting the team, maybe you take him off, but you know that he can change a game in an instant. And if they're losing, there is no way Josie's coming off.
Here's one note for everybody at home to remember, and you might have forgotten this over the course of the playoffs. These coaches have an extra tool in their toolbox because in extra time, if it gets that far, they'll have an extra substitution, Matt. How do you kind of play around with that strategically if you're Schmetzer or Vaney?
I mean, you would think it would allow them to be a little bit more aggressive with their subs in the second half. I think managers in general tend to wait too long to make what could potentially be a game-changing sub. And I mean, we just talked about it with Seattle. They have Morris and Rodriguez. If they want to change the way the game looks, if they need to change the game looks, they can do that. With TFC, I mean, they could add an extra defender and make it kind of more of a back four or pull a guy out and make it different kind of back four. They have Nicholas Hostler they can maybe put in for Badischer, who's more of an attacking wing back as well. I would hope it would make them more aggressive, but managers tend to play it close to the vest in Cup finals. You're not going to see something too cute, I don't think.
I have a question from you two about this ankle injury and just about the conditions overall. When it's this cold, does that affect how he's able to perform? Does that affect how the guys prepare for this game? How does that change things for Josie and the other 21 guys on the field?
Well, if you're Josie and you're coming in with an ankle injury, and don't get me wrong, this time of year everyone has bumps and bruises, and you're grinding it out with your adrenaline, hoping to get you by. I'm not sure you change your approach. You just have to trust what you've done and trust your body and hope that,
Is it hard to get loose? Do you have issues with that?
I think like Ike would do, you'd probably stay in the hot tub about 10, 15 minutes longer than you normally would to warm that ankle up.
You stayed in the hot tub in 2013, is that right?
Yes, yeah. So what I did, actually, not even that game, because leading up to the finals, we had a bunch of cold home games. And if you're home team, you're lucky. The away team is not so lucky here, but I was in the hot tub.
At halftime.
Pregame, and then I got in the hot tub at halftime.
Stripping down.
And
is there time for
And
that?
I didn't have ankle tape or anything like that, so I had no problems.
Your kit manager's probably like banging his head against the wall. How many towels are you going through?
Well, listen, at that point of the year, it doesn't matter. You're not worried about what the kit manager's thinking. You're just trying to get loose and ready and prepare for the game. So, I got in the hot tub.
We'll see. I'm sure there are plenty of hot tubs for Toronto FC and Josie Altidore if he wants them before this game at halftime. Whenever he needs it, he'll be getting treatment right up to the opening whistle, I expect. By the way, lineups are in. No Eric Zavaleta for Toronto FC. In just a little bit, we'll have these two break those down. But first, Matthew Wilson had a question for us here. If Toronto FC win MLS Cup, do they instantly become the biggest villains this league has ever seen? A team that most feel have bought themselves a championship and the, quote, hated U.S. men's national team players in Josie and Michael. Villains, does that jive for you, Dax?
The easy answer for me is no, because they're not the type of team that has players that really rile you up as an opposing player. They have a lot of really good players, and they have a lot of players that I think guys around the league have a lot of respect for. Now, obviously, their dominance, it makes us jealous, right? It makes us want to be in the position that they're in right now.
And knock them off.
But exactly. But they've done things the right way. Their front office has gone about their business very smart. They've signed the right players, signed the right DPs. Villains, I think that's a little bit of an aggressive term.
Yeah, absolutely. Because first and foremost, this team, point-wise, was the best in regular season history. And so if they win a championship, they've earned it. They are the best team. I think if you flip it around to Seattle, and if they win, I mean, now you're looking at a dynasty. Now you're looking at, if they win it again next year, a possible three-peat. And players around the league, as you know, don't even like back-to-back winners, let alone winners in your own conference.
I don't know if MLS has ever been able to talk about a three-peat, right?
They've fallen short in the three other times.
And so that has villain, I guess, written on it. They don't have guys that you outright dislike on your team, I think. They've got guys who work hard, but no guys that are around the league that you say.
Ozzie Alonso, he might be a villain.
He might be one of the only ones, but you got to respect his game and what he has done for that organization.
On the fan side, Doyle, are there villains here?
I mean, on the fan side, I think that a huge portion of the U.S. men's national team fan base hates Michael Bradley and Josie Altidore. And if 2 months after failing in Trinidad and Tobago, they go out there and play an awesome game and, win MLS Cup and are crowned the greatest MLS team of all time, that's just going to further enrage those fans. And like, you add it all together and like, yeah, I mean, you're shocking, but it's like, it's out there.
Yeah, and fairly or unfairly, Josie and Michael weren't playing against Trinidad 2v11, right? I mean, there were 9 other guys on the field. Josie and Michael are leaders of the national team, and they're going to take that responsibility. They're going to bear the brunt of that criticism. But again, I think fans will probably ask the question, well, if Josie and Michael are so good for Toronto FC and they're leading them to a championship in the greatest season ever, why didn't they do that for the U.S. and Trinidad when we needed it most? And I think that's a little bit unfair because that was a total collective team failure, not just two guys.
Yeah, I don't think that a win here for Toronto FC, for Josie, for Michael will change the opinions of American fans, but Toronto FC fans will certainly love them for it. And Dwayne De Rosario is an absolute legend in Toronto and Ontario. The Scarborough native caught up with David Goss earlier this week.
Thanks, guys. Of course, we're here in Toronto, so we have to talk to the Toronto legend, Dwayne De Rosario. D-Ro, thanks for joining us. Just tell us a little bit, what would it mean for this city if Toronto's able to get it done today?
I think it would be a huge boost to the sport in this city and in this country. I think no one deserves it more than our FC faithful, our fans. And it would be an amazing achievement in the club's history. And I think we have the team and the personnel right now to accomplish that task.
What will it look like on Sunday and Monday if this TFC squad gets it done?
Oh, man, the sky will be raining red. I'll tell you that much. This city will erupt. And, I think we're all hoping for that. And, I wish the Reds all the best come Saturday.
Thanks so much, D-Ro.
Thank you.
You better believe D-Ro will be at those after parties. If Toronto FC get this thing done, that man will be in the club. Another fan question here. Aiden Simmons. Guys, do you think Justin Morrow's PK miss last year will motivate him more against the Sounders? Do you think this final will result in another PK shootout? Justin Morrow probably not shook by last year, Ike.
No, knowing him as a person, a really good friend of mine, I think if anything, it motivated him to have the season that he had coming into this year, dedicated, refocused, 8 goals, really good defensively, second in Defender of the Year. Now, if it goes...
Second in Defender of the Year. You made sure to drop that one.
You made sure to put second in Defender of the Year.
Hey, I have a lot of hard days in San Jose, so you were saying don't get it twisted. But subconsciously, if this game goes into PKs, I'll be interested to see, A, if he takes one and where he takes it and how he steps up and approaches it, because we know kind of what happened.
Yeah, we do. We got unlucky. Dex, how do you prepare for this moment as a club, as a player? In the weeks leading up, you're taking a lot of extra kicks from the spot, right? You're getting scouting reports. What's going down?
It's about repetition, right? It's about repetition for goalkeepers. Every single day, you're looking at sheets. You have analysts preparing where different guys go, where their sweet spot is. Do they like to go right? Do they like to go high, low? And for players, it's all about repetition. Step up to the spot. Even if it's training, treat it like a game. Step up to the spot, be confident, and you want to try to go where you're going to go in a game. So just because you know your goalkeeper and he knows you don't want to switch it up. If he saves it, okay, that might hurt your confidence a little bit. You'd hope the keepers are kind of giving you a chance to score here. But
playing daddy ball?
It's all about
exactly.
confidence, though.
I mean, Luis Robles used to save my penalties all the time in training, and I always told myself, if we go to penalties, I'm still going that same spot.
Right. And Luis is on your team as well.
Exactly.
You know where Toronto have been going during the games? Directly into the keeper's hands. They have been catastrophically bad on penalties this year. Josie's 3 of 5. Jovinko just 1 of 3. I think I'd rather have Jovinko taking a 25-yard free kick than a 12-yard penalty at this point.
Decent percentage
yeah,
there.
and Victor Vaz, so it became Victor Vasquez's job, and of course he got his saved by Zach Steffen last week. So if it ends up going all the way to penalties again, I think there's a clear advantage to Seattle.
Yeah, Seattle will be fine with PKs. They feel good about that. They won via the spot kicks last year at just this time at BMO Field against Toronto FC. Jillian Sakovits is hanging out. Jillian, how's it going? We're sitting around here talking about pressure on Toronto. On the flip side, you've been with the Sounders. They feel loosey-goosey.
They show up for club and country.
Yeah, especially in the last 4 days that I've been around them. This is a team I've been around, Andrew, since the beginning of the postseason. And the air here has gotten lighter with this team. They're confident, they're smiling, they're loose. But don't confuse that for being complacent. I had a chance to catch up with a bunch of guys over the past couple days, and I asked a lot of them, if you don't repeat as MLS Cup champions, is this year's success? And they told me, no. So while everyone's saying that the pressure is on TFC, the Sounders are smart. They just know the psyche that works for them. Last year they came in here. No one thought they were going to be here. This year, it's so tough to repeat. TFC doesn't want to lose twice at home. So the Sounders just know what worked for them last year, and don't let them fool you.
Jillian, one of the guys who won't be here, at least playing in this game, surely he'll be in the stadium, is Ozzie Alonso. We saw him lifting the cup last year, but he failed that fitness test. Now we hear Nuhu will not play in this game as well. As far as losing Alonso, how much of a blow is that, and what can you tell us about Nuhu?
Andrew, sorry, I think I misheard you for a second. The blow of Ozzie Alonso?
Yes.
Okay, just checking. Yes, Ozzy, obviously they would love to have their longtime legend here on the field. But look, they've been without him for a while. They've been without him this entire postseason, and you don't feel like they are missing a giant hole in their lineup. And, that goes back to Garth Lagerwey. He brought in Gustav Svensson. And it also goes to Christian Roldan. He has really come into his own this year. He's matured. He's the guy I've talked to probably the most over the last couple of months. And he has embraced a leadership role. He's more confident. And with that, it's helped to fill the gap that missing a guy like Ozzy Alonso does not put them in a terrible situation here at MLS Cup. But of course, they'd love to have him.
They would. This time, though, they do have Clint Dempsey, Jillian. You've been up close and personal with him. What have you seen?
As we all know, Clint Dempsey is not one to disclose much. But he was asked in a press conference, of course, how does it feel to be here after having to skip out last year due to the health scare? And he made it clear, I've always had an appreciation for the game, he said, and I've always enjoyed playing the game. But he said, maybe now a little more appreciation and a little more enjoyment. And I have to admit, Clint has been smiling maybe a little bit more, Andrew.
Smiling? Wow, Jillian, thank you so much. Go have fun. Stay warm.
A few. Just a few.
Okay. All right. Stay warm. Thank you, Jillian.
See you later.
Our own David Goss is standing by as well right now. We have some lineup news from Toronto FC. Let's bring in Dave to talk about it. Dave, that 3-5-2 is not what we're going to see in this game. It looks like it's probably the diamond.
Yeah, it looks like a 4-4-2. Both games in the playoffs so far here at home for Toronto, the opposing teams come out in a lineup that they've never played before. TFC throwing that change in today, trying to force Seattle off their game. And Brian Schmetzer talked all week about how they don't need to come out and attack. This Toronto team knows they need that early goal. They need to force play. I'm surprised to see it, but Osorio and Delgado both sounded so confident all week that they'd be a part of this game, that you had that inkling that they'd be in there.
Now, on the other side, we talked about Seattle being loose. I wonder if you felt any sort of nerves from Toronto FC. Have they, Beta sure can say, hey, everything's the same, but sometimes there's a tell. Have you seen any of that?
Andrew, it's felt exactly like every other game I've worked with them. I've been with them since decision day, and they came into this game, and the way they've operated all week, it's felt exactly the same. So I think this is a team similar to Seattle that is so comfortable now because they've experienced all this before that they're ready to go. Now, I believe that if this game goes 45, 55 minutes with no goal, you'll start to feel an atmosphere similar to what you did against the Red Bulls, where Josie really got frustrated, because that really pervades from the fans into this team. But right now, this is a TFC squad that's confident, and they want to come out and be really aggressive these first 20 minutes.
All right, one more before I get you out of here. For those people out there that listen to Extra Time Radio, they know that you chose the Seattle Sounders in this game. Do Toronto FC listen? Have you got any shtick from them?
No, not at all. When did I choose anyone, Weeby? I'm always neutral. I'm always Switzerland. That's what I do. That's why everyone loves me.
They do. Dave, thank you so much for your time, man. Have fun at the game. We'll see you afterwards, okay?
Yeah.
All right, let's check in with Dave once again. He talked to Alan Chapman earlier this week. Alan will be in the middle of the park for this one, the referee for the 22nd MLS Cup.
We're here in Toronto with the man who's going to run this whole show for us, Mr. Alan Chapman. For you, it's an honor, of course. It's a big opportunity. It's a one-game final. How do you manage these two teams that want this so badly in this environment for the second year?
For us as a crew, we're just here to facilitate the match and let the players decide the game. So obviously there's going to be some big decisions, and we, through our experience, have decided, what's best for the match, and that's how we'll manage it.
Is there anything different about a final than a semifinal, a FIFA tournament, a normal game?
Not for us. It's, same thing as regular. The players are going to expect certain decisions during the regular season. I think the finals are going to be handled the same way.
And you're impervious to the cold, right?
Yeah, we'll find out with the short sleeves tomorrow.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Alan Chapman wants to have minimum impact on the game, of course. But remember, this will be the first MLS Cup with video review. The video assistant referee in this game is David Gantar. We've been teasing those lineups. We'll get to those in just a second. The fan question here, Riley Highland says, who's going to be the difference maker that steps up and propels their team to victory? We've got Doyle, we've got Dax at the board. They're taking a look now at the Sounders lineup. What do you see, guys?
Well, Andrew, as you know, both these teams are packed with difference makers, but it's the difference in the lineup that's caught both of our eyes. It's the back line, a back line that hasn't given up a goal in 6 games now. That's changed.
I'm shocked.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely shocked because even though you have a guy like Nuhu who's very young, he's been fantastic for them. I think the center backs get all the love for them, which is fair enough. You know, center backs more high profile. But for me, it's the outside backs for them that have been so good. Nuhu, not in the lineup, but on the other side of it, my player to watch, Kelvin Leerdam.
All right.
Big hole for Seattle coming into the season, right? A lot of different guys playing right back. They made it a priority to go and sign a good, solid player. They went to the Eredivisie. They got a guy that was starting in the Eredivisie in his prime, spent a lot of money on a guy that plays outside back, which we've traditionally seen. Outside backs, they don't get a lot of money.
Yeah, he's a TAM player. He has been nails since they got him. Jovan Jones has had a very interesting year, and you could argue he has been more effective as a left midfielder, especially lately, than as a left back. But here he is starting at left back. This tells me, Brian Schmetzer, they want to put a shot on goal at the very least in this one.
They're going to be very attack-minded. I think that you can see with Rodriguez and Ladero, their natural tendencies aren't as wingers. Their natural tendencies are to come inside. So you're going to see Jovan Jones push high. You're going to see Kelvin Leerdam push high. They're going to be a big part of their offense today.
Yeah, it is still basically the 4-2-3-1 that Brian Schmetzer has always played. The Sounders are going to look like the Sounders.
They do, but a little bit of a switch up from both these head coaches here. Ike, it's a little bit strange. What do you think about the switch?
I am very shocked. I mean, I knew Vanny would have the possibility of tinkering around a little bit more because you've seen him going into the playoff games. He kind of reacts to what the other team's doing. I mean, the Crew, he played a 4-4-2 away, then at home he went back to his 3-5 or 3-5-2 or 5-3-2, whatever you want to call it. So I've seen him tinker in game a lot and try to figure out what the opponents are doing to try to handle his mega superstars. Mm-hmm. But the Seattle lineup with Jovan Jones at left back really caught me off guard because of how well he had done in midfield. But more importantly, you're messing with chemistry in the back line now.
You're messing with the shutout streak.
You are. And don't get me wrong, I think Jovan Jones is a really good defender, and I think he can probably plug in there, even though he hasn't played there recently. But as Dax and Doyle said, I do think they want to be more attack-minded, which I'm not sure Toronto knew that was going to happen because they're in the 4-4-2 pretty much.
Yeah, let's go take a look at that lineup right now, guys. What do you see from Toronto? This is honestly a little bit shocking to me.
Yeah, Vanny in the sky with diamonds, man. It's a diamond 4-4-2 from Toronto FC. This is a formation that they've played before. They were playing it a bunch in 2016 before eventually settling on the 3-5-2. But it's the 3-5-2 that brought him here. And it's gone.
It's very surprising to me, but the one thing that it does tell me is that they want to dominate the middle of the field. They want to make sure that Michael Bradley has help in there. We have seen at times that when Toronto's been exposed, Michael's kind of been on his own in there. So this makes me think that Osorio, Delgado, they're going to have license to go forward, but they're going to be 2 dual number 8s, right? They're going to give the freedom to Giovinco, Vasquez, and Altidore to attack. We've seen those 3 guys can create goals on their own.
They can. Now, Steven Beitashour at right back, he will push up and support the attack. Justin Morrow at left back, he'll push up and at times initiate the attack. He's the guy who can offer penetration off the ball and maybe break that line a little bit for Seattle.
He is. And the one thing that I see, like Ike alluded to, it's a little surprising that they switched up their formation for an MLS Cup. I mean, they've been so good at home playing in the 3-5-2. To me, maybe Vanny thinks that, hey, he sees that they haven't been playing as well in the playoffs. He sees that Seattle's been playing fantastic. Maybe this is a little bit of mind games. Maybe this is some gamesmanship. Who knows?
And it might. Look, I'm going off of memory here, but I do believe they played the diamond in that final game of the regular season at Atlanta where they got that 2-2 draw. So they're not strangers to this game. But there's one more note I want to make here. Switching from the back 5 or the back 3 to the back 4 takes one center back out of the equation, and that can hurt bad on set pieces, especially on a team that's as good on restarts as Seattle are.
Chad Marshall, Roman Torres. Watch out for those guys. Like, you know what it's like to mark them. Fan question here, Edward Kaleler says, what will it take for TFC to break down the Sounders' defense, and how will they achieve it? We've got another one that came in from Manny Eusebio. Will the Sounders keep a clean sheet, or will Toronto find a way to score? This smells like a tactical breakdown, and you guys are waiting for this one.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we've been talking about and maybe prepared a little bit that has gone up in smoke as these guys are playing games. One thing I know we can count on, Joevin Jones is going to get way far forward from his left back spot.
He is, and for me, the thing that I'm going to be really interested to see is how aggressive is Steven Beitashour? How aggressive is the Toronto FC backline in general to shift and move across? They haven't played four in the back very much, but like you said before, you take a center back out of the equation for them. Now there's not as much cover in the middle of the field, and this is an area of the field that Will Bruin has thrived on in these playoffs.
That's true. He's been able to hit that gap between the center backs, and especially between the left center back and the left fullback. One thing to watch out for with Toronto is their ability to overload. You'll pull Jovinko over here. You'll pull Victor Vasquez over. Like, he loves to work in that left channel, like Javi Morales back in his prime. And you pull Moro all the way up, and suddenly you got to come out and meet them, and that means Roman Torres getting out of the box.
Absolutely. And so for me, the Seattle Sounders are so good defensively because of their two center backs. If you pull those guys out of the box, you're going to probably create chances. Victor Vasquez likes to pull to the left side of the field. As a defensive midfielder, that's a nightmare. You never know what to do. Do you step? Do you drop? This is going to be the area that Josie Altidore operates in, right in between those two center backs. We've seen him score a couple fantastic goals in the playoffs this year, occupying the center backs, running off the shoulders of those guys. If Victor Vasquez, Moro, and Giovinco can isolate the Sounders on this left side of the field, I think this is where a goal will come from.
It could come from here, and also be aware, sometimes with the diamond, it requires the shuttlers to rotate back, and that can free Michael Bradley up for a delayed run into the box. Used to bang home goals in the Eredivisie. That was 10 years ago, though.
That's how Toronto FC might get it done. How do the Sounders get it done on the flip side? How do you free up Clint Dempsey? What's he thinking when he sees this diamond, this lineup? How does he go about attacking them?
I mean, we've seen it during the playoffs. They've attacked almost exclusively back forward. Hit number one for me, Dax, so that we got everything set up again. There we go. Bruin this is the 3-5-2, but Bruin operates in between the center forwards, and when he drags them with him, it allows Clint Dempsey to find pockets of space underneath. Got it. All right, there we go. It allows Dempsey to find pockets of space underneath. The interesting thing here, though, is Ladero comes inside. Victor Rodriguez comes inside.
Right.
The overload for Toronto is going to be against that left flank.
Absolutely.
For Seattle, the overload is going to be in the middle.
And it tells me that the middle of the field is an area where both coaches have identified as a place that they do not want to lose this game. You see this right here. Michael Bradley's going to have help. He's going to be able to clog up the middle. He's going to be able to win second balls. I think that's something that not a lot of people really love talking about, but as a defensive midfielder, I love it. This is something that coaches talk about all the time. If you win second balls, if you win that battle of the midfield, you're going to be the team that's on the front foot. And I think that's something that both these coaches realize.
Win the second ball, get out into transition, maybe get a goal.
All right, look, we've been talking about matchups here. We have a question from Jonathan Lewis. He wants to know what the marquee matchup for this game is. Altidore, Torres, Jovinko, Jones, who's not in the game, so that question's out for him. Ladero, Bradley, Vasquez, or Roldan. Ike, what's the marquee one for you?
There's a couple things I'm looking forward to. I think the marquee matchup will be seeing if Roldan, and if he's higher than Gustav Svensson, and seeing if he can put pressure on Michael Bradley, maybe Victor Vasquez. Now that they have a diamond in midfield, I'm curious to see, because Roldan is a space eater. He closes down gaps, he moves, and so he doesn't allow time and pressure, or allow you to have time and space to make the entry balls.
Does Seattle make Christian Roldan play the Tyler Adams role that works so well against Michael Bradley?
I mean, you have to consider it, but at the same time, Brian Schmetzer isn't that kind of tinkerer. He doesn't change out of that 4-2-3-1. So Roldan might play a little bit higher than he usually does, but it's not going to be a drastic change. A lot of this, to me, comes down to Clint Dempsey's defensive work rate, and I know that's not something that we know Deuce for these days, but he's going to be stuck in this game, and if he's dropping back and making Michael Bradley's life miserable, that's going to make things a lot easier for the rest of the Sounders.
Exactly, and on the flip side, who picks up Nico Ladero? I mean, we've talked about this a lot, but for me, this is such a big part of the Sounders' success. They signed Nico Ladero. they get an MLS Cup.
Yeah.
Now they're back in the MLS Cup again because of how good he is and how he makes this offense tick. In a diamond, it tells me that Osorio or Delgado, one of them is always going to have an eye on where Ladero is. He shows up everywhere on the field. He starts on the right, cuts in, comes into the middle, combines with Dempsey. Sometimes he can even overload all the way over on the left side of the field. So for me, it'll be really interesting to see, who picks up Ladero. I think it's going to be Osorio or Delgado or both.
Yeah, I might keep Osorio on that left side just because if you can get him forward as well when they're overloading that left side, he's a very tricky one-on-one player. Maybe draw a couple of free kicks and then let number 10 stand over those.
Guys, you've been nerding out for a while here. I got to bring you back to the table. Look, the tactics, the chess match, we'll have that go down at 4 p.m. Eastern when the game starts. These two coaches taking some chances, tinkering a little bit with their lineups. We've been doing the tail of the tape over the course of the last 3 days on MLS Cup Central. This is how it's gone down if you need someone to jog your memory here.
The future is bright in the TFC goalkeeper department, but I'm going to have to give the edge to Fry for this game.
I would put a mark in Toronto, but because they need to win, so it's a mark for Toronto.
I think Seattle is a little unfortunate with injuries, but so I think Toronto has shown their depth all year. So I'm going to give it to Toronto.
Unfortunately for Seattle, they don't have one of their best players of all time, Ozzy Alonso. I'm going to have to go with Toronto just because of the addition of Victor Vasquez.
Seattle, what they've done the last couple of months speaks for itself. Toronto, what they've done all year, which has been overlooked, speaks for itself. And they're at home.
Who's getting the check mark?
I think I'm going to go Seattle.
All right. There you have it. 3-2. Reds got the edge right now. Doyle, you're going to help us see if we have a tie or if TFC is going to move it on. Tactics, coaching, who has the edge, Spencer or Vanny?
Both these teams have very good coaches, and the fact that they're in back-to-back MLS Cups, it speaks for itself. What's really impressed me most about Schmetzer is his ability to have the whole team keep an even keel. Even when you have players like Dempsey coming in and out of the lineup, even when they hit a slump, they just stay steady. And the biggest indication of that was the Jovan Jones thing. People forget he just disappeared for like a month during the regular season, signed with a 2 Bundesliga clubs, so he's gone at the end of the year, and he came back into the lineup and walked right into that starting 11. It didn't even make a ripple. So that tells me he's got that locker room on lockdown. But Greg Vanny also has his locker room on lockdown, and we saw it all year, literally from like the first game all the way into MLS Cup. Now, he's been able to juggle lineups, juggle players. You miss Michael Bradley and Josie Altidore. Jovinko at 80% for most of the season, only plays 1,800 minutes. He has been able to find a way, and he has been able to really change games, not just with man-for-man subs, but with formations and where they want to hold the ball and how they want to build. And to me, that gives them a little bit of an edge in a one-off. So all due respect to Brian Schmetzer, who 2 hours from now might be a back-to-back MLS Cup winner, I'm going with the coach of the year. I think Greg Vanny's got it.
4-2, Toronto FC. Put the check mark up for us, folks. Coach tactics, Toronto FC. Got it done in that scenario. Check marks don't win championships. And I want to talk more a little bit about these changes in the lineups. They took some chances. Is there the possibility that after this game, let's say Toronto FC lose, that people point to Greg Vanny and say, you tinkered too much. You had the formation, you had the formula at home. I
will say that on this show, and I will say it in my column, and I will tweet it. If they do not win this game, I will say Greg Vanny. I will say Greg Vanny tweeted tinkered too much.
Right, and I think that's fair. I think if you look at Seattle, they didn't tinker too much. They just made a change with Jovan Joe sliding back into his natural position at left back. So, and they're probably going to say maybe he's inexperienced. We all know what might happen with the explanation. Vanny has a far bigger explanation that might not make that much sense. And it's I'm still in shock because I did not expect to see a 4-4-2 diamond at home where they've been so good at. And so I think he has a lot more to face than.
How do you think it works?
How do you affect the team? Like, if you're Toronto FC and you walk in, you knew this was coming, right? But you still knew it was a departure.
I think inherently it says, okay, we're going to approach this game and we're going to be a little bit more pragmatic. And I don't think that that's necessarily what the fans want to see. But at the end of the day, you have to respect a coach's decision to say, all right, we're probably playing the best team that we're going to face all season. Even though we're at home, we need to make sure that we keep things tight defensively. And it tells me that Greg Vanny trusts his attacking three, right? Yeah. I mean, Victor Vasquez, Giovinco, and Josie, we've talked about it nonstop, but you can't really not mention it, because anytime you switch up a formation, instead of going 3 in the back, you go 4 in the back, and you make sure you have 4 defenders back there to go along with a tight midfield. That tells me that Greg Vanney is trusting his 3 superstars to get the job done.
Well, in the playoffs, there's more 5 in the back because the wingbacks didn't really attack as much as they did in the regular season. And so that means spacing, as you mentioned at the board, is going to be drastically different. And I think you made a good point. Yes, the midfield of Toronto is going to track Nico Lodeiro, but how many times has Nico Lodeiro faced that all year? I think plenty of times. It's when he finally gets in those critical areas where he can make penetrating passes. Toronto, without another center back, might feel unorthodox in defending that. So I'm really curious to see.
Now, there could be more tinkering, Doyle. We're talking about a 4-man back line right now for Toronto FC, but Greg Vanney's left open the possibility that he could go back to that. He's got center backs galore on that bench.
He does. He's got Zavaleta and Hagelin now, both guys who have experience in MLS Cup, which is pretty nice to have at this point. Also have Armando Cooper that they could bring in if they want to go to like a 5-man midfield for some reason. They have Raheem Edwards if they want to get a little more attacking at one of the wide positions. They have Hostler. He can go back to a 3-5-2, but if you're changing out of the formation that you started the game in for anything other than, hey, let's protect this lead, you've done something wrong. So I respect the hell out of Greg Vanney for what he's done with Toronto FC, but this is such a gamble. If it goes bad, it's going to be on him.
Does it smell of arrogance a little bit? Does it smell of, you know what, I think that my team can beat Seattle in any formation that we play?
To me, it smells more of fear. It smells more of like they've lost confidence in what got them here, and I think this is maybe a little bit too hopeful that like, hey, we make this one change, we get back to what we were, and I'm not sure it works that way.
We have a lot of different fan questions coming in. A lot of them are based on home field advantage. Dax, your MLS Cup, that wasn't a thing at that time. It was still neutral site. Ike, 2013, you had that. Yeah. How does being at home give you that advantage in the playoffs?
It's massive, and for whatever reason in our league, the home team has the biggest advantage, I think, in a lot of leagues. And so we knew our surroundings, we knew the locker room, we knew the field, we knew the fans were behind us. We got to stay in our routine of our environment, whether we were at home, just to lead up to the game. Because being on the road in hotels, not everything's perfect, and when you're at home, you get to control everything that your environment and the field and all that. So it makes a massive difference. But at the same time, there's a lot of pressure on you being the home team, and you know that. But you try to eliminate that in your mind.
Were people coming up to you and leading up to the game saying, "Hike, get it done, man"?
Well, again,
we're watching, we're waiting, we expect the title.
Kind of what Bader Shore said. It's not even necessarily that. It's the text messaging, the phone calls. You got people coming in last minute.
Can I get tickets?
Oh gosh, you got someone to fly in and sleep on your couch, and it's like, no, I'm good. I need this. So honestly, that's more of a chaotic experience than us walking down the street and whatnot. So it is. It has its benefits and its negatives, I would say.
Big thanks to Patrick Fitzgerald for hitting us up with that question. You are entered to win one of those match balls, Patrick. Congratulations. Of course, we've got another one coming in from Jennifer Pesquera. She says, I hope both teams will win. Jennifer, not going to happen. Obviously, it will not happen, but we have to make predictions. You will get ours in just a second, but the people on the ground in Toronto have been collecting them all week long. There are some good ones.
If I'm going to stay on the cold, I want
goals.
Everybody
wants goals here.
We will see goals. We will see goals.
Stephen Fry lets in a howler. Bam!
From a Justin Morrow shot cross.
I think it'll be a close game.
2-0. TFC.
I think we'll see a lot of goals.
I don't know. I want to make it difficult, but I feel like it's going to be easy, so we're going to win. I would say like 2-1.
And Toronto's going to win, obviously.
Yeah, obviously. That's not a question.
Toronto are going to win 1-0.
Like a 2-1 Toronto.
I'm going to say 3-1 Toronto.
Okay. Toronto comes out on top.
I think I have to say Toronto. They've been excellent all season.
No, Seattle's win. Yeah, because they are insufferable, and that's just what
dinner.
They're going to do.
Dinner.
All right, dinner.
You heard it here.
Everybody wants the Philip F. Anschutz trophy. So beautiful, so shiny. Can add something to your legacy. That can change the perception of who you are as a player in this league and in your career. Guys, our predictions, it's time to do it. We're sitting here as that video's rolling, and everybody's like, I don't know, man. I thought it was going to be one way. It's a different way. Have you flip-flopped any internally?
I mean, a little bit makes me rethink it, but I'm going to stick with my gut, and my gut says that the Sounders get it done. Deuce gets one early. Toronto controls most of the game. Deuce gets one late. 2-0.
Deuce. Two for Deuce?
Two for Deuce.
Yeah, that works. What about you, Ike?
Before the lineup changes and surprises, I had Toronto winning 3-1 and an entertaining fest. Now I really don't know who I'm picking. I'm going to go 2-2, extra time goal by somebody on one of the teams. Honestly, it won't be PKs. I'll say that. But I don't know who's going to win.
Red or green? Just pick a color.
Okay, fine. Man, it's
not even teams. Just
Toronto.
Okay, Toronto. What about you, Dex?
I mean, I'm wavering, man. I'm shocked that they're changing formations. I'm shocked that, especially at home, it doesn't seem like they're going to be as aggressive as they were. But for me, it all comes down to this. It's not about Toronto or Seattle. This game is about Sebastian Giovinco. This is what I want to see. I have the most admiration for him. I think he's one of the best players in MLS history already. This is the game that he establishes himself as the best player to ever play in MLS. He's going to score a brace. It's going to be 1-1 after regulation. He's going to score the game winner in extra time. We do not see penalty kicks.
Goals. We're all predicting goals. Yeah. Thank you. Hopefully that holds up. I'm going to stick with Seattle. I won't waver. I won't waffle. We'll stick with the Sounders, too, Pete. They will be insufferable on Twitter. We'll have to stay away from there, of course.
Shout out, Anders.
Yeah. 4 p.m. Eastern. The game is coming up here. ESPN Unimas in the United States. TSN, TVA Sports in Canada. MLS Cup Central comes at you on the other side. The postgame show. Ike, Dax, Matt, myself. Come hang out with us. And make sure you get your questions and comments in MLSsoccer.com/playoffs. And, of course, you can vote for MLS Cup MVP at MLSsoccer.com. Make sure you make your voice heard with that. We're out of here. Go enjoy the game, everybody. It ought to be a good one.